Imagine standing in your wedding dress, waiting at the altar, and realizing no one from your family, not even your parents, showed up. Not because they were sick, not because they forgot the date, but because they chose to celebrate my sister instead. What they didn't know was that their betrayal would feel the sweetest revenge they'd ever regret. If you've ever felt overlooked, disrespected, or betrayed by the people you trusted most, you'll want to stick around. This is a story of family lies, stolen dreams, and the kind of revenge that leaves everyone speechless. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments if you've ever wanted to serve justice to someone who underestimated you. I used to think weddings were supposed to be the happiest day of your life. The kind of day you'd look back on with a soft smile, remembering the music, the flowers, the people who loved you enough to show up and stand beside you. But when I think about mine, the first thing that comes to mind isn't joy. It's the empty chairs. There I was, standing in my dress, bouquet trembling in my hands, staring out at rows of seats where my family should have been. My parents, my siblings, even my best friend, who had sworn she'd never miss it for the world. All of them gone. And the silence in that room was louder than any music could have been. The guests who did come whispered to each other, clearly confused. A couple of distant relatives asked me quietly if there had been some kind of mix-up. "Are they stuck in traffic?" one of my husband's cousins murmured, trying to lighten the mood. I just forced a smile, but inside, my chest felt like it was caving in. My husband squeezed my hand at the altar. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The look in his eyes told me everything. I see you. I'm here. Even if they are not. But that didn't stop the questions screaming in my head. Why hadn't they come? What could possibly be more important than their own daughter's wedding? I didn't get my answer until later that night. While I sat in the bridal suite, dress pulled around me, makeup streaking down my face, my phone buzzed with a notification. Out of habit, I opened social media. And there it was. A live video. My entire family, my parents, my siblings, even my best friend, standing in the middle of my sister Amber's brand new house. Laughing, toasting, cheering. The caption? Amber's debt-free journey party. Finally paid off everything. Let's celebrate freedom. My stomach twisted. I watched my dad raise a glass of champagne, watched my mom cut into a cake, watched my best friend, my supposed maid of honor, pose for pictures with Amber, hashtagging #FamilyFirst. Family first. Except when it came to me. It wasn't just that they missed my wedding. It was that they chose her. Deliberately. Without hesitation. They knew my date. They'd RSVP'd. And yet, the moment Amber announced her little party, they dropped me like I didn't exist. I sat there numb, phone glowing in my lap, the sound of their laughter echoing in my ears while the man I'd just promised forever to tried to wipe my tears. That night, something inside me cracked. And once it cracked, there was no going back. Because I finally realized, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was a choice. A choice that told me exactly where I stood in my family's eyes. And it was the moment I decided I'd never let them erase me again. To understand why that night broke me, you'd have to understand my sister Amber. Amber has always been the golden one. The favorite. The daughter who shone so brightly in my parents' eyes that I may as well have been standing in her shadow my entire life. She was loud, charismatic, magnetic. The kind of person who could walk into a room and everyone turned to look. Teachers adored her. Classmates followed her. My parents bragged about her at every dinner party like she was their proudest accomplishment. And then there was me, Nicole. The quiet one. The nerdy one. The daughter who got good grades, but never made the headlines. Who stayed up late teaching herself to code while Amber was out being crowned homecoming queen. Who built entire apps in high school. Apps that worked, apps that could have gone somewhere, yet watched as my parents smiled politely and turned back to Amber's cheerleading trophies. It wasn't just neglect, it was dismissal. When Amber once presented a business idea at a school fair, an idea that was literally a stripped-down version of an app one had coded from scratch, our parents clapped like she was a genius. I remember standing there, hands shoved into my pockets, listening to my mom gush, "Amber, you're so creative. You have such an entrepreneurial spirit." Meanwhile, the project on my own table sat untouched, unnoticed. That moment set the tone for years. Amber could do no wrong. Every slip-up of hers became an adventure, while mine became a disappointment. She blew through money irresponsibly, racking up debt, and they still praised her for living life to the fullest. Meanwhile, when I chose to pursue software development instead of a traditional career, my dad sighed and muttered something about me wasting potential. But what stung most wasn't just my parents' blind adoration. It was Amber herself. She didn't just bask in the spotlight, they handed it to her, and she made sure I knew it. She'd tease me about being the boring sister. She'd joke about how I should just code her life since she didn't understand tech. And sometimes, late at night, I caught her snooping on my laptop. She'd laugh it off, saying she just wanted to see what I was working on. Years later, when Amber launched her influencer brand online, I recognized pieces of my own work woven into it. The way her blog was coded, the design of her budgeting spreadsheets, even some of the slogans she used. I hadn't given them to her, but she had them, because she had taken them. And my parents, they ate it up. Amber's such a self-starter, my mum beamed. She's going places. I told myself it didn't matter. That someday, I'd prove myself on my own terms. But sitting in that wedding suite, mascara smeared across my face while Amber laughed on live stream in front of my entire family, I realized something painful. I had been invisible for years. The wedding wasn't the first betrayal. It was just the most public one. That night, after the reception ended, after the guests offered their awkward condolences and slipped away, I found myself back in our apartment still wearing my wedding dress. The lace sleeves clung heavy to my arms, damp with tears I hadn't realized I'd been shedding for hours. I looked at myself in the mirror, and the reflection staring back didn't look like a bride. She looked like a ghost. I remember sinking down onto the floor, bouquet tossed to the side, petals scattering across the hardwood. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. All the images swirled in my mind. Amber holding a champagne glass, my parents smiling proudly, my best friend clinging to her side like they had never belonged to me. Every laugh in that live stream was a knife in my ribs. My husband knelt beside me, still in his suit, tie loosened. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing across the streaks of mascara. His voice was quiet but steady. They chose her again. But maybe, it's time you choose yourself. At first, I wanted to snap back. What did that even mean? How could I just choose myself when my entire family had so clearly rejected me? But the words lingered, echoed. The more I sat with them, the more they began to shift something inside me. For years, I had begged silently for recognition. I had worked myself to the bone, coding, building, achieving, hoping one day my parents would finally say they were proud. But what had it ever gotten me? A seat in the shadows while Amber danced in the spotlight. They were never going to give me what I craved. They had already chosen their star. And that realization burned away the grief, leaving behind something sharper. Anger. Not the kind that made me cry, but the kind that made my heart steady and my thoughts clear. For the first time, I wasn't just thinking about what they had done to me. I was thinking about what I could do. I sat down at my desk, still in my wedding gown, fingers hovering over my keyboard. All the times Amber had snooped on my laptop, all the suspicious lust files, all the times I noticed my accounts glitching or my app trademarks mysteriously vanishing, they all clicked together like puzzle pieces. She hadn't just stolen my spotlight socially. She had stolen from me technically, professionally. And if she thought she could keep getting away with it, she was about to learn exactly how wrong she was. My hands trembled as I began opening old project folders, pulling up backups I had hidden away. The code was mine. The designs were mine. The trademarks should have been mine. She thought she'd erased me, but I had kept every receipt. That was the moment I decided. I wasn't going to sit back and let her take everything anymore. If my family couldn't see me, I'd make sure the whole world did, by tearing away the mask Amber had built for herself, piece by piece. The next morning, I woke up with my wedding dress crumpled on the floor like a discarded costume. My eyes were swollen from crying, but inside, something had changed. I wasn't just heartbroken anymore. I was awake. I sat at my desk with a cup of coffee and opened my laptop. If Amber had stolen from me, I was going to prove it. And if my family needed a reason to finally see me, I'd give them one they'd never forget. I started small, combing through my old projects. Every piece of code had a fingerprint, my style, my logic, the little quirks I used in my programming. When I compared my work with the guts of Amber's influencer site and her flashy budgeting app, it was like overlaying two sheets of glass. Identical. She hadn't even bothered to change variable names. She had just slapped her branding on my work and paraded it around as her own. The anger that burned through me in that moment was white hot. But beneath it was something colder, clarity. I wasn't going to scream at her. I wasn't going to beg my parents to believe me. I was going to take her empire down with precision. I created a private folder, labeled simply Mirror, and started stockpiling evidence. Screenshots of side-by-side code. Timestamps of my file saves compared to her app launch dates. Backups of my original designs. I even dug into the trademark office records and found her filings under her name, using drafts of my descriptions, word for word. That was federal fraud, and I knew it. But revenge isn't just about evidence. It's about timing. Amber thrived on image. Her whole career, her followers, her sponsorships, everything depended on people believing she was authentic, innovative, inspiring. If I wanted to hurt her, it wouldn't be enough to win in court. I had to expose her where she lived, in front of her audience. That's when the idea hit me. A mirror site. A perfect copy of Amber's online world, but with one key difference: every lie laid bare. Side-by-side comparisons. Proof of theft. Records of her hacking my accounts. Screenshots of emails she thought she had deleted. It would look like her site until the moment it didn't. As I began coding the framework, my hands shook, not from fear, but from adrenaline. For once, I wasn't working to impress anyone. I wasn't hoping for approval. I was building something for me. For justice. Every night, while Amber posted her fake perfect life online, I sat in my dim apartment weaving the threads of her downfall. I set alerts on her accounts, tracked her filings, even followed her brand deal announcements to know exactly when to strike. And with every line of code, every screenshot filed away, one thought echoed in my mind. She stole my voice. She stole my work. She stole my family's love. But this time, she wasn't walking away with anything. Amber loved the spotlight. She thrived on likes, comments, and the illusion that she was the kind of person others should envy. And I knew her biggest high yet was just around the corner, her million-follower livestream. For weeks, she had been teasing it on every platform. Biggest announcement yet. Exclusive app drop. New partnerships you won't want to miss. My parents were buzzing with excitement. Even co-workers I barely knew mentioned seeing Amber's posts online. They had no idea that behind the scenes, every single move of hers was being shadowed by me. By the time the day came, I had everything in place. My mirror site was polished, flawless, and ready. It looked exactly like hers, same fonts, same colors, same layout. But underneath, it carried a payload of truth. Proof of every stolen file, every fraudulent trademark, every hacked account. When the stream began, I sat in my apartment with my laptop open, pulse pounding in my ears. The chat on Amber's live stream exploded instantly. Hearts, clapping emojis, messages screaming, "Congrats, Queen." She basked in it, smiling like the star she thought she was. And now, she announced, holding her phone like a golden ticket, the moment you've all been waiting for. My official app launch. Designed by yours truly, to help you live debt-free just like me. I could almost hear my parents clapping in their living room as she clicked the link. And then, it happened. The livestream screen stuttered. Instead of her sleek branded app page, the link redirected. At first, it looked normal. The header, the logo, everything familiar. But then, like pulling a curtain back, the truth started to appear. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Side-by-side comparisons. File timestamps. Screenshots of her filing fraudulent trademarks with my words attached. Even email headers showing her IP address when she hacked into my accounts. The chat went wild. Wait, what is this? This looks like stolen code. Amber, explain. Her smile froze. She blinked rapidly, fumbling with her phone. Guys, something's wrong with the site. Technical glitch. Just refresh. Her voice cracked, rising in pitch as the proof kept rolling across the page. But refreshing didn't help. Because every single link pointed back to my mirror site. Every sponsor watching saw the same thing. Every fan saw the same undeniable truth. I sat back in my chair, heart hammering, as Amber's empire crumbled in real time. Sponsors started quietly pulling their tags from the chat. Viewers flooded her comments with accusations. Screenshots of the proof were already spreading on Twitter. Amber's voice cracked again. This is fake. This is fake. Someone's trying to ruin me. But the evidence was too clean, too thorough. No one believed her. For the first time in years, I wasn't invisible. For the first time, the truth was louder than her lies. And I wasn't done watching. Amber's livestream ended in chaos. She tried to shut it down, but not before tens of thousands of people had seen everything. Within hours, the hashtags shifted. Where once it had been #DebtFreeAmber and #BossBabeGoals, it was now #Amber the Scammer and #StolenCode. Screenshots of my proof were circulating on every platform, dissected by tech bloggers, reposted by fans who felt betrayed, and shared by sponsors who wanted to distance themselves fast. Her empire didn't just crack, it collapsed overnight. Sponsorship deals she bragged about? Gone. Collaborations she had teased? Quietly cancelled. Her follower count plummeted by the hour, every angry comment another nail in the coffin of her influencer career. But what struck me most wasn't Amber's downfall. It was the phone call that came the very next morning. It was my mother. Her voice was trembling, frantic, like she'd been crying all night. "Nicole, please, you have to help your sister. This has gotten out of control. The family name, your father's reputation, this could ruin everything." I sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, stunned. 4 years, I had been begging for scraps of recognition. And now, suddenly, I was the one holding the power. Not because they finally saw me, but because they couldn't ignore me anymore. "I can't fix this," I said simply. "And even if I could, why would I? You all made your choice when you didn't show up for me." There was silence on the line. Then my mom's voice broke. "We didn't think." "That's right." I cut her off. "You didn't think. Not about me. Not about what I worked for. Not about my wedding. You only thought about Amber." I hung up before she could respond. Amber tried damage control, posting shaky apology videos, claiming she'd been set up, blaming vague haters for orchestrating everything. But the internet doesn't forgive that kind of fraud. Her followers wanted transparency, not excuses. The more she spoke, the more obvious her lies became. Meanwhile, I quietly filed my trademarks properly. I reached out to investors with my original work. And for the first time, people in the tech space saw me, not Amber, not the golden child, but me, the woman who had built something worth recognizing. I didn't need my parents' applause anymore. I didn't need my sister's validation. I had something better, the truth on my side, and the proof that I was capable of standing on my own. The best part? I hadn't shouted. I hadn't begged. I hadn't stooped to her level of manipulation. All I had done was hold up a mirror and let her destroy herself. And honestly, watching her lies crumble was more satisfying than any "I'm proud of you" my parents could have given me. The moment that will forever be etched in my memory wasn't Amber's empire collapsing later. It was that exact second on the live stream when her mask slipped. I watched her face freeze, the carefully curated smile twitching as the proof scrolled across the screen. At first, she tried to laugh it off. Guys, don't worry, this is just a hacker, just refresh." Her voice shook. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with her phone. But the chat had already turned on her. "This looks legit. Wow, you stole from your own sister. Scammer. Fraud. Unfollowed." Her eyes darted back and forth, scanning the flood of comments she couldn't stop. Panic set in, clear as day. Her cheeks flushed crimson, her lip quivered, and for the first time in years, Amber looked small. Weak. And I felt my breath even out. My hands stopped shaking. A calm washed over me, almost eerie in its intensity. For so long, I'd been silenced, erased, shoved into the shadows. But in that instant, everyone saw the truth. Not because I begged them to, not because I demanded it, but because the proof was undeniable. I leaned back in my chair, a small smile tugging at my lips as I whispered to myself, "Finally." The sponsors pulled their tags live on the stream, leaving awkward gaps where logos had been. Fans clipped her meltdown and posted it across Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. Within an hour, Amber wasn't a role model anymore. She was a cautionary tale. And me? I didn't need to say a word. My revenge was already complete. It wasn't about humiliating her for the sake of it. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming the years she had stolen from me, the stolen code, the stolen recognition, the stolen love of a family who never looked twice in my direction. Watching her squirm on that live stream, watching her kingdom of lies crumble in front of the very audience she worshipped, I realized something important. I didn't need their validation anymore. Not my parents', not my sister's, not anyone's. I had given her the rope, and she'd hung herself with it. Sometimes, the deepest betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people you trust most, the ones who should have stood by you. My family didn't just forget my wedding. They chose to celebrate a lie over witnessing the most important day of my life. But here's the thing about lies. They always have an expiration date. Amber built her empire on stolen work, stolen credit, and stolen trust. All I did was hold up a mirror. And when the truth came out, her whole facade shattered. For me, the revenge wasn't about destroying her, it was about reclaiming myself. I'd spent years waiting for validation that was never going to come. But the moment I stopped chasing their approval, the moment I chose to fight for my own worth, that's when everything changed. Now, when I look back at my wedding day, I don't just see empty chairs anymore. I see the beginning of something bigger. A turning point. The day I stopped being invisible. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes, the justice you crave isn't about making others clap for you, it's about proving to yourself that you were worthy all along. So if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or betrayed by people who were supposed to be on your side, let this be your reminder. You don't need their approval to shine. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply living as your truest self, without them. And if this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe for more stories of betrayal and justice, and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Because sometimes, karma just needs a little push.